I'm gonna submit a question.
Oh, yeah.
I want to. I don't know how.
All right. So we're going to get out of here in 10 seconds.
I didn't,
And there's a lot.
mine's folded up on the couch there. I meant to take it to work with me this weekend and forgot it, so I just.
It's not they use
Daphne got a
Oh,
costume was
Costume.
spectacular.
yeah, yep. Infant to pre-K, yep. Aw.
That's nice.
So for Wednesday, Adams won.
I mean, just like everybody else.
Grain of it.
You have 1 minute, and yes, it is.
I had to think.
It's in there somewhere, you just gotta move somewhere.
How sweet.
I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's Tipp City Council meeting. We've already called the roll due to having an executive session earlier this evening. So at this point, we'll move into the prayer for guidance and the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight as one body for the betterment of our community. We ask that you watch over our first responders and our police department. Please keep them safe. Also watch over our military wherever they're serving around the world. We ask for your blessing in our decisions tonight. In your son's name, amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Liddy?
Yes.
Mr. Slagle?
Yes.
Mrs. Pittenger?
Yes.
Mayor McFarland?
Yes.
Mr. Ensland?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Guess I should ask, were there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, we're okay. Moving into the minutes of the October 2nd, 2023 City Council work session.
So move.
Been moved and seconded. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Pittenger?
Yes.
Mr. Slagle?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Liddy?
Yes.
Mr. Ensland?
Yes.
Mayor McFarland?
Yes. Minutes of the October 2nd, 2023 City Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mrs. Pittenger?
Yes.
Mr. Liddy?
Yes.
Mr. Ensland?
Yes.
Mayor McFarland?
Yes.
Mr. Slagle?
Yes.
We have no presentation, proclamations, and awards. Moving into ordinances, second reading. An ordinance imposing a moratorium for a period of 180 days on the acceptance of applications and the granting of permits for flex buildings within the city of Tipp City, Ohio. Mr. Green.
Thank you. This ordinance, if adopted, would place a moratorium on the acceptance of applications for flex buildings. At this time, there are no applications for flex buildings pending. We don't anticipate any coming in, but this would give us the time to review the regulations and make sure that we're on the right track with that zoning designation.
Mr. Liddy, you introduced this ordinance. Do you still wish to sponsor?
Yes, I do.
Any board member comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. The adopting of flex zoning generated quite a bit of contention among the council. You may recall some desired that the second reading of the ordinance be tabled, and there was some misunderstanding around that. One disappointment is how often zoning discussions are reduced to the statement, "That's just more warehousing." Warehousing does present variables around transportation and logistics. Not every building, however, including those that present storage for hybrid businesses, create the same variables that a warehousing business creates. I just offer that as food for thought for future discussions. I believe a moratorium is unnecessary legislation. That said, some of my peers have presented the notion that this is important in light of the work being done by the CIC to present a comprehensive plan for the uptown area. I've also heard the city manager's view that at the time of year that we are in and the likelihood of development through the winter, a moratorium is a low-impact move. For those reasons, I see a compromise, and I'll support the moratorium.
Any other board member comments? Seeing none. Anyone in the audience wishing to comment? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Liddy?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Ensland?
Yes.
Mr. Slagle?
Yes.
Mrs. Pittenger?
Yes.
Mayor McFarland?
Yes.
Ordinance 2923.
Moving into resolutions. Resolution A, a resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with the Law Office of Miami County Public Defender. Mr. Green.
Thank you. This is a contract that we authorize annually. It's for $4,885, rounded up to the even number. It's for public defense of indigent persons charged with jailable offenses, and the administration would recommend that this resolution and contract be adopted.
Do I have a sponsor for this resolution?
I will.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Council discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Pittenger?
Yes.
Mr. Slagle?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Liddy?
Yes.
Mr. Ensland?
Yes.
Mayor McFarland?
Yes.
Resolution 4523. May want to just make a comment that we have no audience, so when people say, because we are streaming,
Okay.
so you don't want people to just, think
Oh.
we're not asking for citizens.
We do not have any audience tonight, so therefore we will not be doing citizen comments on any of these resolutions. If a citizen would show up, they would have the opportunity, and we'll reinstate that fact. Moving on to Resolution B, a resolution authorizing the city of Tipp City to enter into an annex agreement for 1400 West Main Street with the Board of Trustees of Monroe Township, Ohio, Miami County, Ohio. Mr. Green.
Thank you. This resolution would bring the greenhouse property that the city just acquired into the city limits. The township voted on it tonight, and I believe that they did adopt that. I got confirmation from Mr. Spring. So the township has approved it, and this would permit the greenhouse property that was just acquired by the city to be brought into the city. And we would recommend that it be approved.
Sponsor for this resolution.
Sponsor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Board member discussion. Seeing none. Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please?
Mr. Ensland.
Yes.
Mr. Liddy.
Yes.
Mr. Schwab.
Yes.
Mr. Slagle.
Yes.
Mrs. Pittenger.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes.
Resolution 4623.
Resolution C, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Dayton Power and Light Company, AKA AES Ohio, for the purpose of providing a utility easement for utility pole replacement and electric line work on property co-owned by the cities of Huber Heights, Vandalia, and Tipp City for use by the Tri-Cities North Regional Wastewater Authority. Mr. Green.
Thank you. As you're all aware, the city of Tipp City participates in the Tri-Cities North Regional Wastewater Authority to provide wastewater treatment services. When the three cities purchased the system approximately 30 years ago, it was deeded over to the three cities individually as joint owners. Hence, with the need to provide the utility easement, the Tri-Cities Board cannot approve that on their own. It has to come back to all three of the cities. And this would permit DP&L to go in and replace some poles and some lines. If you're familiar with where the old Vandalia sewer plant is along the bike path between Old Springfield and the Taylorsville Dam, that's where they're going to be doing the work. There's a half a dozen poles there and a couple lines that they need to be able to access. They've got an easement, but it is not where the pole is, so they need a new easement that is actually where the new pole is going to be. Danny Knife with the TCA board has negotiated the easement. The attorney for TCA has reviewed it multiple times, and all three communities are being asked to adopt this resolution permitting them to access that property and replace those utility poles and lines.
Do I have a sponsor for this resolution?
All sponsored.
A second?
Second.
Any council discussion?
Just one thing is the actual annexation or easement agreement isn't attached to the resolution. Does it need to be for us to vote on it?
I don't think so.
Because you're not approving the easement, you're approving the, authorizing the city manager to enter into the agreement.
Okay, okay.
I can send you a copy of it. I had a draft that was redlined and did not get a final draft until Friday, but if you'd like to see it, I can send it to you. But we have had, the attorney for TCA has reviewed that closely and made a lot of modifications. And Dayton Power and Light and the TCA board have all agreed that it's in good form at this point.
Okay.
Board member discussion? Please?
Mr. Slagle.
Yes.
Mr. Ensland.
Yes.
Mr. Schwab.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes.
Mrs. Pittenger.
Yes.
Mr. Liddy.
Yes.
Resolution 4723.
Moving into ordinances, first reading. An ordinance accepting certain public improvements as completed by the developer of Fieldstone Place subdivision Phase 3. Mr. Green.
Thank you. These next three ordinances, ordinance A, B, and C, are all essentially the same. when a developer comes in and wants to put in their development, they put up a surety for the public infrastructure. As that public infrastructure is completed, we accept it. It becomes the city's responsibility to maintain it. Our acceptance does provide them the opportunity to reduce the amount of the performance bond. We do still have funds set aside for some sidewalks and the final course of asphalt, but they've substantially completed the base course of asphalt, water, sewer lines, storm sewer lines. And by accepting those improvements, we allow the developer to draw down on the amount of their bond and free up some cash for the next phase of their development. But we do still maintain enough to make sure that what hasn't been completed as of today will be completed.
Do I have a sponsor for this ordinance?
Are you doing all three at the same time, or?
No.
No, I
So
just
just
noted,
okay.
just
You
noted.
just noted A, B, and C. I just want to be clear. This is only
Just
for
A.
Right,
Okay.
but all three of them are essentially the same set of circumstances.
I'll sponsor it.
Thank you, Mr. Liddy. Ordinance B, ordinance accepting certain public improvements as completed by the developer of Fieldstone Place subdivision Phase 4. Mr. Green,
Just as stated previously for ordinance A.
do I have a sponsor for this one?
I'll sponsor it.
Thank you, Mr. Schwab. Ordinance C, an ordinance accepting certain public improvements as completed by the developer of Cedar Grove subdivision Phase 5. Different subdivision this time, Mr. Green.
It's the same set of circumstances, just in a different subdivision, yes.
Do I have a sponsor for this?
I will.
Thank you, Mrs. Bittinger. Ordinance D, an ordinance amending Chapter 37 of the codified ordinances of the city of Tipp City for all city employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement. Mr. Green.
Thank you. So this ordinance deals with the residency requirement that's currently in Chapter 37. We've talked about that a couple of times with council and work sessions, and the changes that are proposed would mirror the FOP language in subsection A. B is substantially the same, but it does provide the city manager a little bit or provides the employee a little more responsibility to prove to the city manager the need for an extension of time if it goes beyond the 1 year period. But we have talked about this with council before, and we're essentially mirroring the FOP language on residency. And that would be either in Miami County, a contiguous county, or a non-contiguous county if it's within 35 linear miles. And I think geodesic is the term that the police came up with when we discussed this 3 years ago, but basically linear from the city building to 35 miles out would be the new limitation, unless you were in Miami County or an adjacent county.
Do I have a sponsor for this?
I'll sponsor it.
Thank you, Mr. Slagle. Ordinance E, an ordinance repealing and reserving Chapter 33 of the codified ordinances of the city of Tipp City. Mr. Green.
So we again talked to council about this at the last work session, and this deals with mayor's court and the fact that Tipp City has not had a mayor's court for a long period of time. So this would repeal that section of the code and reserve it so that going forward, we would not have the opportunity for mayor's court. But obviously, you could bring that back at any future point if you were to decide that you wanted to do that. But there's been a lot of changes made to the mayor's court requirements and provisions over the last 10 to 15 years. And at this time, we think it's best that we just repeal this section of the code and move forward with the municipal court, using the municipal court.
I'll sponsor that ordinance. Moving into motions. A motion setting interim zoning for annexed property located at 59 and 85 Kessler-Cowsville Road. Green?
So these two motions are both interim zoning for the two properties out on the corner of 25A and Kessler-Colesville. The first one, 59 and 85 Kessler-Colesville, is the four-star tool rental facility. The next one, the 4025 South County Road 25, is the Knickerbocker pool site. What we would be looking for is the county currently has them zoned highway business, and these motions would also set the interim zoning as highway business through the city zoning process. And Mr. Spring is available if you have any questions on those.
Do I have a sponsor for the motion A?
I'll sponsor it.
You, Mr. Ensland? I need a second?
I'll say.
Or go ahead.
Okay, I have a second. Any board member discussion? No questions of Mr. Spring?
I'd just say it seems to make sense to bring it in under the zoning that it previously was, at least on the interim basis at a minimum.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ensland?
Yes.
Mrs. Pittenger?
Yes.
Mr. Slagle?
Yes.
Mayor McFarland?
Yes.
Mr. Liddy?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
And motion B, a motion setting interim zoning for annex property located at 4025 South County Road 25A. That's the Knickerbocker
That is
property.
correct. Yes.
I need, someone wanna,
I'll sponsor.
okay, and
I'll second.
a second. Any, to council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Slagle?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mrs. Pittenger?
Yes.
Mr. Liddy?
Yes.
Mr. Ensland?
Yes.
Mayor McFarland?
Yes. We have no business under miscellaneous. Citizens' comments on items not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move into comments of city council members and city manager. Mrs. Pittenger,
I have none, thank you.
Mr. Liddy.
Just want to thank the mayor and Mr. Green for doing a fine job this evening. Thank you guys for stepping in.
Mr. Slagle.
Done tonight.
Mr. Schwab.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Mr. Ensland.
Nothing for me tonight, thank you.
I've always got something to say. Since the last meeting, I attended the CIC on October 10th. On the 11th, our clerk of council and I attended the Greater Dayton Mayors and Managers Association dinner meeting that was held here in Tipp City with guest speaker Cameron Holler. Thank you for doing that. Monday is a week from today is our budget meeting. Starts at 3 o'clock. Public is invited. Also on the 26th, don't forget, it's trick or treat night here in Tipp City from 6 to 8. Also on November 1st is Meet the Candidates Night for school board and city council out at the high school. Kicks off around 6:30, goes till around 9 o'clock. And also, November 7th, please remember to vote. Early voting is going on now, but November 7th is the last chance you have to vote. Please make your choices responsibly. With that, Mr. Green?
I just have one update, just to let the council know that this afternoon I did submit the first file to the Ohio checkbook for our January through September 2023 expenses. It's not going to be available in the next day or two. They've got some work to do on their end, but I would say by the end of the week, that information should be available. So council's direction was to move forward with that, and I did get that file submitted this afternoon. So, good.
All righty. With that, I'd like to thank Mr. Green for filling in for our city manager, who is currently off on retirement training. Thank you. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Ensland? Mr. Liddy?
Yes.
Mrs. Pittenger?
Yes.
Mr. Slagle?
Yes.
Mayor McFarland?
Yes, meeting is adjourned.
Quick enough for you?
See you, Ryan. Take care.
But I covered it. Covered it.
You too.
Huh? Hey, all three went.